Hi and welcome. In this video, we continue our exploration of quadratic functions by looking at xy intercept, sine, and comparison of these functions. To that end, let's go and consider a quadratic function x squared minus 5x plus 6. In order to find the x and y intercept, as always, we let x to be 0 in order to find the y-intercept. If x is 0, obviously we see that y is 6. That is 0 and 6 is the y-intercept. And in order to find the x-intercept, we let y to be 0. As a result, x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0, which is a quadratic equation. Solving this quadratic equation by any method that we know, for example, factorization, we get that x1 is 2, hence one intersection point with x-axis is 2 and 0, x2 is 3, the other intersection point with x-axis is 3 and 0. In order to study the sign of the function, we sketch the graph, and for that, we try to see the transformations that we have in this quadratic function by completing the square of x squared minus 5x and adding 5 over 2 all squared, of course, subtracting the same thing, plus 6. Simplification, we get that x minus 5 over 2 all squared minus 25 over 4 plus 6. Further simplification takes us to x minus 5 over 2 all squared minus 0.25. Therefore, this quadratic function is generated from the parent function by a right shift of 2.5 units and downward shift of 0.25 units. That is, the graph of this function is this parabola, which is opening upwards, with the x-intercept being at 2 and 0, and the other x-intercept being at 3 and 0. Here we clearly see that for x between 3 and 2, the function is negative because that part of the graph is below x-axis. At x equals to 2 and 3, the function is on x-axis, therefore 0. And for x less than 2 and for all those x values more than 3, the graph of the function is above x-axis, therefore positive. Next, consider a linear function y is equal to g of x equal to minus x plus 1, and consider this function again, f of x, and try to compare them. Sketching the graph of both functions at the same xy coordinates, we get that this is the blue graph, which is the graph of this y is equal to f of x, and the orange graph, which is the graph of this linear function. For all those x's between 0 and 4, we see that the graph of f is below the graph of g, therefore f is smaller than g. Obviously, for x equals to 0 and 4, the two functions are the same because there they intersect, therefore they share the same y value. For x less than 0, that's negative numbers here, all negative numbers, and x bigger than 4, that's all numbers here at the right side of 4. You can see that the graph of f is above the graph of g both here and here, therefore f is bigger than g. Practice for you, consider the quadratic function h of x, 2x squared minus 6x plus 10, find the x and y intercepts, and study the sign of this function. Thank you for watching and good learning.